Hi everyone, I am Siris Rivas-Verdejo and this is Choosing a Different Future show. Hi, welcome, season 3. Oh my gosh, love it. And we're actually having a couple of returning guests, including my guest for today, Dr. Moshe Dekel, who was our most viewed guest from, I think, the first season, and maybe one of our most viewed videos so far out of all of our videos. And as soon as you start hearing from him and talking with him, you won't be surprised as to why that is. He's a very knowledgeable guy. He's not bad to look at either. You see, right? All right. And so thank you again so much, Dr. Dekel, for being on our show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're again making me blush. This is not nice. How you doing?
So what's been going on with your practice since we were last on our show? It's been, gosh, months.
I know. Well, a lot of good things. We've been introducing new modalities into our practice. One of them is ozone. The other one is ultraviolet blood irradiation. And the majority of people say ozone. Oh, isn't that a poison? I mean, this
Right.
is like
Isn't that in the atmosphere? There's like the ozone
right.
layer.
That's kind of summer day, bad news, interfering with breathing, etc. No. Medical ozone is actually made of regular oxygen through a tube, high voltage tube that makes O3. O3 is ozone. O3 is good to be used in medicine in just about every part of our body, and I'll explain how we do that, except one thing. You really don't want to breathe it because it's irritating to the lungs. But ozone can be injected into joints and regenerate the joints. Ozone can be injected into trigger points and get inflammation under control. Ozone can be infused into blood. Okay.
I did that, y'all. It was actually amazing. Like, I can speak to that one. I did the direct blood one, which, if I remember correctly, is the one that's the most dynamic, like the most effective if you want most change. Is that correct?
That's correct. You take about 60 cc of blood and you put it in normal saline in a bottle, an IV bag, and then you infuse about 60 cc of ozone, and that oxygenate the blood in a very high speed. But it
So
actually
for someone who's not a doctor and doesn't know what cc's are, like, about how much that is that, like a cup of water, like how much?
Okay, 150 cc's, we're talking about 5 ounces.
Like 5 ounces. Okay, cool. So for
6
y'all,
ounces 6 ounces to be exact.
okay, 6 ounces. Let's be exact. I know you like to be exact. So it's,
Ounces.
it's not like you're like, when you donate blood, it's a pint, so it's a lot less than that.
Actually, let me correct myself. As blood goes, it's about 2.5 ounces, but we put it into 6 ounces of normal saline.
So even less, just really minimal. It's not like you're donating blood where they ask you to give a whole pint.
No, it's about a syringe this thick, this big, and about this long. So we're talking about a tube of blood about this big, and talk about 2.5 ounces. It's not a big amount of blood to take out and to put back into the body.
So you take out this blood and then you mix it in with the saline. You re-inject it after it's been going through the UV light.
Yeah. So once you put it in the IV bag, then we infuse the ozone into the bag. So now the ozone came in contact with the blood and does magic. Now we return it, but while we're returning it, we get it through a UV generator that actually exposes the red blood cells to ultraviolet light, rather.
And what's the benefit of that?
The benefit of that is mainly the following. It really wakes up, first of all, it kills anything that's not supposed to be there, whether it be Lyme or any kind of viruses, whether it be herpes virus or any other virus, or any kind of infection, inflammation that is in the blood that may be even not known.
Right,
okay?
right.
Definitely, it is the best way to deal with any kind of Lyme, whether it be acute Lyme or chronic Lyme. I mean, unfortunately, we have a lot of patients who are affected by Lyme, and that's probably the only way to really get to the core of it. Because when you use antibiotics, you get kind of temporary effect. But the Lyme is very smart, for lack of better words, and they actually shape shifting. They have 3 different ways of being, so to speak. So when they're being hammered, they're just going to go to the next phase. Okay, we're hiding in a corner, let the storm pass, and now we come back with a vengeance. They cannot get away from combination of UV and and ozone.
And I love, you said it is a passing comment, but even the herpes virus is something that I was told for sure was not something that you can actually clean out of the blood, and yet it's been very effective for many people with that. That's revolutionary in my opinion. What else have you seen it to be really effective for that might be surprising to some people?
Well, it's great for autoimmune diseases, and unfortunately, a lot of us do have that. So it's effective, very effective in that. And you'd probably be surprised to hear this is not a new modality in medicine. This has been used for 60, 70, 80 years before.
Oh, wow. So
This
where did it start?
Well, it started, as I said, about 60 years ago. Effectively, the only way that people can actually be helped if they have severe infection, because this was before antibiotics. We're talking about back in the 30s and 40s. Okay, so we're talking about 70, 80 years now. Yeah, it's been that long. In fact, there are studies about ultraviolet blood irradiation that saved people that were left to die because they just didn't know what else to do with it. I mean, we're talking about people with rupture appendix. Rupture appendix before the era of antibiotics was a death sentence.
Yeah.
You could not recuperate from that. I mean, you did the surgery, you tried to clean as much as you can, but with no antibiotics, you could not survive it. Yet with ultraviolet blood irradiation and ozone, you did.
That's amazing.
But you say, so how come we don't have it now in hospitals, right? I mean, it's so effective.
That was my next question. I love how psychic you are. Yes.
I know. I read your questions.
Because it is the next thing. It's like, okay, 1, why doesn't everyone know about it? And 2, why isn't it readily available to everyone? Yes.
It was thrown out of the hospitals when the antibiotics were invented. And you say, why is that? Well, let's face it. You can patent antibiotics. You cannot patent ultraviolet blood. You cannot patent ozone. And I guess the profit margin was not good enough or bad enough or whatever you want to call it. And, as soon as the antibiotics get in, they throw them out.
Yeah.
However, if you look at current medicine in the world, ozone is much more pervasive in Europe than here.
Right.
Especially in Russia and Germany. I mean, this is like doctors will ask you want antibiotics or you want ozone?
Wow, it's already an option that they give.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's like, okay, do you want milk or do you want coffee? Like it's just, let's have either one. And they're both viable options. So, one of the things that, we've talked about, in our conversations is the value of preventative medicine and functional medicine in other places more than the United States. It's shifting. Slowly but surely it's shifting, including for people like you that are advocating and educating people about the benefits of a preventative and functional approach to their health. So have you noticed, do you know of any laws that are coming up or any policies that are shifting that will make it easier for this to be more readily available, or is it still a lot of obstacles to that?
I love your optimism.
I'm asking. I don't know if it's you're the one that's in this and more informed.
I really wish that some politician would listen to this very eloquent question. The answer is no, because it has nothing to do with pharmaceuticals. It has nothing to do with big equipment manufacturers. it's not expensive enough for them to endorse it. And if anything, they'll mount opposition to it rather than help. Absolutely.
So then it seems to be more than about personal choice. So really getting the word out there, kind of a grassroots approach that seems, and then as soon as there's more a loud enough cry for this to be readily available, maybe they'll actually be at the pharmaceutical companies, the medical industry will make this readily available, but at least individuals now can choose it if they know of it.
Yes, they can. It's not easy to find doctors. Well, you can just do a search and see who's doing it. But again, I hate to squash your optimism. This is not going to change for the better. It's going to be up to people to actually get out of their out of the box, and actually, it's never going to be covered by insurance, so it's going to be out of pocket. You know, we have a sad joke in our office. When the question comes, does Medicare cover it? We said, of course not, it works. It's a bad joke. It's a bad joke, but
it is a bad joke, and yet we laugh because it's true.
Unfortunately, it is. So, I mean, we see patients who've been seen by 15 doctors before that without any help, and finally help. So you can imagine the state they're in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, by the time they reach you.
How many doctors you can see before you give up because they say, well, nobody can help me. It's a sad situation for a lot of chronic issues that are not being open to integrative, holistic approach. You say, listen, I tried antibiotics for 5 years, didn't help me. Well, maybe I should try something else.
Or maybe it kind of maintains. That's what happened with me, is that it was a Band-Aid, but it wasn't really getting to the core issue with my health. And I had to go to holistic interventions and holistic tools because I knew something more was possible than just having a Band-Aid over this. They're like, oh, just keep taking all this medication for the rest of your life. And I was like, that's not what I'd like my life to be like. After chronic pain, chronic illness, chronic infections, you know, we're seeing all of this, be it in my clients and in your patients, and there is definitely more possible there. You know, and yes, there is the cost of ozone that it's out of pocket right now, but you have great ideas about diet changes and lifestyle changes that don't cost that much. So what are some things that you would recommend that could be a preventative approach before it gets to the point where it's something chronic for those that haven't already been diagnosed with something?
Right. Well, first, I would like to just make a comment regarding maintenance. In other words, kind of maintaining a level of, okay, I'm not that sick, but I'm not that unhealthy.
Right.
You cannot do this with Lyme or with any other chronic infection, because as long as you take the antibiotics, they're going to be under stress and they're not going to appear. But as soon as you stop it, they will find a way. So the only way to really get healthy is to totally eradicate it. But now to the other question. What I would suggest is for us to really maximize our body potential, which is what? If you give it what it needs to eat, if you digest well, if you eliminate well, if you have the right hormone levels across your system, you manage your stress, you manage your emotions, you sleep well, and you take certain necessary supplementation, because unfortunately, even if you eat very well, the food, the amount of nutrients, the nutritional value of food has declined 50% in the last 25 years. So even if you have everything great, unless of course you grow it in the backyard with compost, which is the best, obviously. Yes, you can get just about every nutrient through, getting the right stuff. But very few of us have the time, the expertise, and the knowledge to grow on vegetables, especially year round. I mean, in the South, yeah, but how about the North? I mean, 6 months of the year is not going to grow.
Yeah,
So you
I mean,
kind
in
of,
Chicago, I grew up in Chicago. That was not an option. There's a lot of really creative urban farming and urban planning happening there. And even with that, you're gonna have to buy some of the food some of the year. So I get what you mean.
yeah, it has to be in a special, area that is insulated from the cold. Otherwise, it's not gonna, it's not gonna grow.
So what types of diet changes, if any? Is it more, I know that a lot of the things that you do is very individualized and you tailor it to each person's body. What are some of the patterns that you see that some people benefit from that might be surprising?
Well, I've been dealing with diets and lifestyle for the last 20 years, and there've been some fluctuation back and forth. Before this last revelation of mine, I was kind of supporting the paleo kind of diet. Today, I'm supporting more the ketogenic type diet, which is high fat, low carb, very low carb. Okay. Uh, and again, 65% of Americans are overweight. And I try to explain to my patients that carbs makes us fat and fat makes us thin. So the whole brainwashing by the government with the food pyramid they gave us 50 years ago, 60 years ago, has nothing to do with health. It has to do with the economy. It has to do with the fact that 60 years ago, the agriculture ability to produce abundant grains got to the point, what do we do with these grains?
Mm-hmm.
How much can we send out as a gift to third world nations? How we can donate? I mean, okay, so what? Let's change the system. Let's put the carbs. We need 5 carbs a day. And 60 years later, 65% of us are obese.
Yeah, it's not
So let's go back,
a leap to see that connection.
right? So what you do is you analyze the diet of the beginning, the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, where the average American had 20 pounds of butter per year and hundreds of eggs and beef, etc., and they did not have any heart disease. Very little, actually very small amount of chronic diseases. Today, 65% of Americans have chronic diseases. So, and it's because of dietary changes. Obviously, there are other issues, whether it be pollution and chemicals and stress, a lot of stress. Where
And
it can do,
very sedentary lifestyle. So a lot of people are sitting at computers, sitting at cars. They're not walking and moving as much as
absolutely,
well. So that also,
subway, planes, airplanes, absolutely. And so, put this all together, and now we have an epidemic of chronic diseases, oxidative stress that goes through the roof. But we do have ways to deal with it, other than, of course, educating our patients, our clients, of what kind of diet they need to do, is to seek balance uh, in their life between, the stressful part we have with job and kids and relationship, etc. But get at least half an hour, 45 minutes a day, usually at the end of the day, to really release those stresses, whether it be with access consciousness, whether around the bars, whether it be with meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, singing the blues, running the blues, watching the wind and the birds, whatever it is. Just rewind the meter from the red to the green. I'm talking about the stress meter, the,
right.
the stress meter we all have, but we don't watch because how do we gauge stress? Well, if we sat and thought about it, yeah, we know how much stress we are. And if we
Mm-hmm.
listen once a day, uh, the body takes care of it very, very nicely.
Well, and your point about stress is important. A lot of people think that what their go 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 adrenaline overload is their normal. And so when you ask them a question like, "Oh, are you stressed?" They don't even identify it as stress because for them they think that stress is when they get to the burnout instead of all of the levels before they get to burnout. It's like, what if we could just not even have the burnout? Like, what if we could just identify it earlier? All of those signs. And I love that simple idea of just taking those 30 to 45 minutes a day a lot of people, from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, if they're sleeping, like you mentioned earlier, the keys to that, they're going, they're doing. And I joke around a lot. It's like, yeah, they're becoming doo-doo heads.
Well, you're absolutely right. And let's think of why this is happening. Other than the mere fact that some of us have to work 2 jobs to support a family, a lot of us cannot afford to slow down, because if we slow down, now we have time to think and to feel, more to feel than to think. Well, the majority of us have issues with feelings, emotions, etc., that we don't want to deal with. Well, one way not to deal with it is be continuously busy. From the time you open your eyes to the time that you are what?
Mm-hmm.
Falling totally exhausted in bed. And guess what? You were successful because today you didn't have to feel
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And really
sad.
be present with
Everybody's
what's going
hurting.
on in your life. Yeah.
You know, it's really, you can see, I mean, I've seen patients that just the mere idea of them having half an hour without doing anything, it's frightening.
Yeah, I've definitely heard people. It's like, I wouldn't even know what to do. Like, what would I do? Like, their kids are gone, their partner's gone. Maybe they have a day to themselves, or they're at home and they're busted their legs, so they're forced to finally slow down, right? And that's something that what happens is they finally, when they can't actually be going all the time, an event will bring that up, and then they're literally like, I have no idea what brings me joy. I have
Yeah.
no idea what relaxation can be like for me. I have no idea what peace and calm looks like. Like, it's just all of that. And so I literally just had that same idea and suggested it 30 minutes. I usually, for some people that I know, I have to start at 10 minutes because 30 minutes is too much of a leap. So, okay, 10 minutes.
You can go into shock.
Their eyes bug out like, ah!
Exactly. I know. And you know, in your field of access consciousness, you know how pervasive this is. And you know, I always suggest for people to read the right stuff, to not to be afraid of exploring what's really the issues are. Because if they don't, they just eventually they have to, because the body sends some nasty messages that incapacitates them and make them, gets them to the point that they can't do anything, so they are forced. Give an example. Just today, I saw a patient who uh, is a professional caddy. He carry golf,
Mhm.
the golf field. Yeah, he was just diagnosed with Lyme, wiping him out. I mean, no energy. So thank God it was new. So we're treating him, etc. So in about 4 or 5 treatments, no, actually 7 treatments now, he says he's 40% better, which is not bad considering where we started. But today, you know, I noticed he's gotten depressed. So I'm talking to him. I said, so what's going on? He says, you know, I sit all day and I don't know what to do. I said, look at it as a forced vacation. Well, what to do? I said, well, how about you either read a book, but if, let's say, your eyes are too tired because you're affected by Lyme, go on YouTube and just look at, let's say, videos of golf, professional golfers giving advice to golfers. So when you do the next caddy, now you can say, well, you know what? I saw this and this and this, and they suggested that, and this is your field. Why not?
Mhm.
But it's like he's devastated because he is bored out of his mind and he has to feel, and that's doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Feel good.
Yeah.
But I hope he's going to take my suggestion, because again, I told him, listen, at least 10, if not 20% of your healing process has to do with your outlook
Mhm.
and what kind of emotional fight you're going to put up
Yeah.
with this line. It's not just everything else, and you just sit there and wait for it to happen. You need to emotionally be on top of it. This is a fight of your life, and you have to be involved 100% in it and be nasty. I mean, this is not something that you can give up and, oh, well, I'll lose this one. No, you lose this one, you're gone.
So, you mentioned that I see this a lot with my Access Consciousness classes. I also see it as a speech language pathologist, feeding therapist. There's a lot of my parents and the teachers that I work with where they're go, 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 they're adrenaline overload. And a lot of us don't realize how that's impacting the people around us as well. So I remember when my mom didn't know how to take a break, I would see her running around stressed out all the time. And it would be like, I was always on the alert. Like, so I was always ready, like, and wanting everything to be really well. And there was this level of anxiety in my world as a child, watching my mom juggle all this stuff and going nonstop all the time and not really pausing and doing that self-care for her. And I point this out to the parents that I work with, and I point this out to the professionals that are working with all these kids. It's like they're watching you. They're watching you, and what you do and what you're choosing and how you're being energetically has a greater impact than what you're saying, because you're telling them, okay, calm down, let's relax, let's breathe, while inside everything in you is like and they know that, they perceive that. And so it's beneficial for us, for our own individual health, and for the people that we care and love that are around us. And I'm curious for you, if you've seen that play out in your life in any way, or with your loved ones, these tools and strategies, and how you incorporate it into your own life.
I see it on a regular basis when I see kids and their parents. Because now, with the advent of electronics and continuous brain stimulation with games and war games and the availability of cell phones, iPads, etc., that the parents use it to actually, it's almost like the old days TV, you didn't have time to put your kid in front of TV, let them watch cartoons or whatever, which is bad on its own merit. But now you have this addictive, in other words, the kids are being, I wouldn't say pushed, I would say encouraged to use all these gadgets that totally isolate them from the emotion, the society, and the social structure. Because
and I would also add their body. Like, if you're here and you're in your head and it's only this part and it's your eyes, are you listening to the rest of your body?
Of course not. Of course not. So now you have, just the other day, I saw a mother with two children, an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. So the 8-year-old couldn't sit still, had to rotate on the chair a couple of times until I said, you need to stop that. And when I need to talk, kids listen to me because they know that I'm serious about it. They just look at them and say, you need to stop that now. The other one was very busy with a game on his phone. It's a funny story, at least from my perspective. So the mother was asking a question. He was not paying attention. He was just looking at his phone. You know the story.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
I'm sitting here, he's sitting there, his mom is sitting there, okay? So I look at him and I said, your mom is talking to you. And he's still on the phone. I reached and I grabbed the phone.
Uh-oh. I think I see where this is going.
I know. His reaction was like, I just shot him with a real gun. It was like, I said, we told you twice to stop. Now you have to stop. That's it. And I told the mother, that's what you need to do. It's amazing how parents today think that they need to be their kids' friends instead of their kids' parents. They don't know how to discipline them. They think that they're doing them a favor by let them walk all of themselves.
And being a doormat.
And that is the crux of what's happening in our society today. We really, for lack of better words, we are raising snowflakes that think that the world owes them a living, that it's not fair, that socialism is the way to go, that Earth is going to finish in 12 years. Actually, I just saw a 12-year-old talking about, in 2 years, we're all going to die. I mean, it's actually causing harm. I mean, I saw a segment of young children in total cataclysm about climate change.
Mm-hmm. So for you, how do you self-care? Because you're a busy guy. You have multiple businesses. How are you this living model for your patients, for the people that you care about, to invite them to do the self-care that you're touting is beneficial for their health?
I'm going to show you in the audience how to take care of myself.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yes, the ocean.
Actually, yeah, this is a Port Royal Sound, but 2 miles to the right, we have the Atlantic Ocean. So you say, what are you trying to tell me? I'm trying to tell you that by me watching the birds right now, flying here and looking at nature and seeing deer and seeing the, you know, the hawks and the ravens and just listening to nature, to me, gives me all the relaxation I need. Now, I'm not saying this is for everybody. What I'm encouraging my patients is to find out what works for them,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Can be, you know, play tennis, go for a walk the dog, interact with your dog, listen to music, read something,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I tell them very simply, listen, any activity that puts a smile on your face is the right activity.
Yeah, I would add
Whatever
the
it is.
caveat that puts a smile on your face and doesn't hurt anyone else. Like, yeah, I'm gonna add that little detail there. But
Uh-oh.
overall,
Uh-oh.
yeah,
We're threading here into forbidden territory.
yeah, that might be the topic of our next chat,
Yeah,
huh?
our next topic. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, you're right.
So wow, I know we can always talk some more. You know, if for all of you who are watching right now, if you haven't watched our last episode where Dr. Dekel was on, I invite you to do that. It was in season 1. And you can go and check that out and find it at choosingadifferentfuture.com/episodes and go to season 1. What the other thing that we did is on the Facebook page and everything, we actually had a Facebook Live with Dr. Dekel after so many views and comments under his video. And so he actually directly answered questions about health and lifestyle and medicine and his own personal life. And so if you would like that, let us know below. Say that I'm in, or say I want to know more, or let's do a Facebook Live, or whatever that is, just to let it be really clear that you would like some more of this wonderful gentleman. And then please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed our chat today. And feel free to message Dr. Dekel directly by posting questions below. And we'll also have his contact information in the description below this video, so you can contact him and his medical office directly. It's just been always such a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for being on the show and coming back.
You're welcome very much, and I think you're doing a great service to your listener because, as you know, even though it's a good information, it's rare to come by. So I'm happy to share it with you and your listeners. And just to reiterate, if they need any help, or the best thing to do is post question, and we'll do it again as we need to. So again, thank you very much.
Ask and you shall receive, y'all. Thank you, and I'll catch you next time.